Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. In today's project we're going to be working on these card shufflers. Now these things are very common on the internet. I see a lot of them from a lot of different places claiming different manufacturers. We've got, well, there's three here. There's one over there that can't be fixed because it's in too bad a shape. Now I've got 3 or 4 more out at someone's house that I've worked on, and the inner workings are pretty much the same on all of them. So it doesn't matter where you buy them. They all look about the same. The way these things are supposed to work, if you don't know, you put part of your deck of cards here, part here, and these things come in different heights. This one can handle 2 decks of cards on each side. I don't have that many in it obviously, but the way it's supposed to work, you put cards on each side, you press this, and it shuffles the cards into the middle. Like that, and your cards get shuffled. You do that a couple times, and your cards get shuffled very well. Now that one's working pretty well. Now all of these, I put new batteries in them before we started. This one has a different problem. You can see I got cards on both sides. It appears to run well, but when you run the machine, it doesn't pull cards from that side. It might get one occasionally, but basically it doesn't pull from that side. If you look at the wheels in here, they appear to run, but they're slipping. They're not working properly. This side does work properly, but it doesn't shuffle your cards properly. That's another problem that I see sometimes, although not nearly as often. What I see most of the time is this. You put cards on both sides, you press the thing down, and it does that. I mean, this has new batteries in it too, I might add. Just before I started the video, I put brand new batteries in this particular one, so I know the batteries are good. You press the button, sometimes you get it to run just a little bit, and that's all it does. And that typically is the way these things malfunction. So now I'm going to show you how you take this thing apart and get into it, and I'm going to show you the part that's poorly designed that causes that problem. Okay, this is the bottom of the one that we're going to work on. We're going to open the 2 battery compartments because you have to take the batteries out in order to take this thing apart. So we're going to get our batteries out of it right quick. That just jumped out. It's trying to run away. We'll keep those separate from the other batteries I got over here because we know they're a matched set. And then there's a screw down in here, 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 and here. Now I'm going to stop the camera and take those screws out. I don't want to waste your time, but the next thing I'm going to do is take those 4 screws out. Okay, at this point I got the 4 screws loose. I'm going to turn it over. Be careful not to lose them. Let them drop out. There's my 4 screws. Set them to the side. And this thing basically, you may have to pull just a little bit, but it comes apart like that. And that's the inner workings of this machine. Okay, now I've taken the cover off of this machine, and this is your switch. If you look here, there's a wire here and there's a wire over here. Now this wire comes up and comes straight across. This wire goes up and goes this way. And when you push this down, what's supposed to happen is those 2 wires touch each other. And that's how contact is made to make the motors run to shuffle your cards. But as you can see, when I take this off, that it's already loose, but if you can see that notch in the plastic right there, that's not supposed to be there. What happens when these wires come together and touch, they tend to get warm, maybe a little too warm. Certainly too warm for this plastic because it melts into the plastic. And because it melts into that plastic, when you push down, the wire that comes straight up doesn't go down far enough to make contact because it's melted into the plastic. That is the failure of most of these things I've worked on, is that piece right there. You can see there how the wire just sticks into that little notch. It melted there. But that's the problem. And as you can see, that's the notch that's giving you trouble. Now something that I've done, I took the other 2 machines back apart even though I had already fixed them. These are that same piece out of the other two. Now this one, I cut that center piece out completely. The piece of plastic that comes across here, I just cut it here and got rid of it. I threw it away. I took a couple of toothpicks, I glued two across the top, and I glued one in the middle across the bottom using epoxy. And I had a little bit of problem with the height. I had to shave this down. It's flat on top now to make things work properly. If you're not careful, if you put something here or on the bottom, if it's too thick, it'll cause you problems. The motor will run all the time or it won't run at all. So I had to shave the top down a little bit, a little file or something that you can grind it down, or just use something thin to start with. And but anyway, on this one, that piece of toothpick right there is what pushes this down, and if it gets a little warm, it's not going to melt into the toothpick. Now on this one, I did something different. As you can see, the top side looks the same, but on the bottom side, I had epoxied a real thin piece of metal right across there. It's been a while, so I don't remember exactly what I did. I think that was part of a paper clip that I glued it down there and filed it down some so it wouldn't be so thick. Because you don't need something real thick, you just need something that the wire won't melt its way into. So that's how I fixed that one. Now I would caution you, when you start taking these things apart, you know, this is on top of here, you got your screw in it. When you take that screw out, be real careful in taking this thing apart, because the parts in here, there's not a lot of parts, but they got to go back the same way. And what I would recommend is, when you start taking this thing apart, get your camera out, your cell phone, whatever you got, and take pictures of it before it comes apart. That way you won't have any question about putting it back together correctly. Now this doesn't look like much. This little spring here, or this little piece of wire come off. There's a little plastic washer, the other wire's under that. But they got to be positioned just like that in order to work properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this one back together and show you that it works. I'm going to use this piece instead of my original one. I'll fix that a little later. But I'm going to put this one on here. Goes on there like so. The little screw is here. Well, if I can get it on here. There we go. Okay. Now one thing I'll caution you at this point is, when you're putting these screws in, this one and the 4 in from the bottom, you're putting the screws in plastic. Don't tighten them real tight. Just put your screw in, snug it up. If you try to tighten it real tight, you're going to strip the threads out, and then you can't get it tight, and they won't stay together. It'll give you trouble from then on. So be careful you don't tighten your screws too tight. Now at this point, this is in here. It should work fine. Now I can't show you on the video because it's even hard to see for me sitting here looking at it. But if you look really hard under here, you can see those two wires. And you should be able to see that they make contact when you push it down. They separate when you let go of it. When you put the top back on, I guess it goes this way. I have had trouble with the bottom pushing this down. If I put something across here, I know I had that trouble with the toothpick deal. That's why the top got shaved down. It was too high. When I put the cover on, it was pushing this down, and the motor just run all the time when I put batteries in it. But the main thing is that the wires make contact when you push it down, and they separate when you let go. Now I'm going to stop the camera. I'm going to put this top back on here. We'll put some batteries in it, and we'll see if it works. Okay, here we are. I put the top back on this thing. They don't go back on real easily sometimes, but don't use force, use finesse. If you just kind of wiggle it and work with it, it will go back on without hurting anything. I do not have the 4 screws in the bottom of this one yet. I'll do that after I'm through testing it. I did put batteries in it. I put cards in it. And so I'm ready to test it now. So if you don't put the screws in it to hold everything together before you test it, make sure you hold the top down, because if it's up a little bit, you can have a problem that you don't know about. So make sure you hold it down good and firm. Press the button to test it and see what happens. And there you have it, a shuffled deck of cards. Normally we'll run them 3 or 4 times, but that shuffles it. Here again, that's the only thing I replaced. And that little notch there where the wire melted into the plastic was the whole problem. I hope this helps you. I think most people could fix one of these if they were inclined to try and work on something. Like I said, it's not rocket science, and a rudimentary fix a lot of times will fix these things. But it is a poor design as far as that switch is concerned, but it's something you can fix. And I hope you use this video to save yourself some money, maybe fix your own card shufflers. And I hope you'll like our videos and subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot more videos coming in the near future. And we hope you have a great day. And thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne.